Hey everyone, I'm Nadia. I'm an embodiment and intimacy coach, and today I'm going to be answering the question of why embody. So we've got all these different movement experience, dance classes, spiritual practices that exist out there in the world, and you've got a lot to choose from. So I want to tell you a little bit about how Embody came into creation and what it can do for you. So Embody is essentially this moving meditation, a movement experience that takes you through an hour-long journey, musical journey, where you get to explore your relationship to pleasure, to power, and to play. And these three portions of class really came from these ongoing, after having worked with clients for years, there was these three universal ongoing messages that kept coming up over and over again for my clients. And that is that play is unproductive, that our sensuality is dangerous, and that our emotionality is weak. And as you can tell, each one of these is connected to pleasure, power, and play, right? And over time, as I was creating the class, as the class was starting to develop into what it is now, there was just so much more clarity that there was essentially these three archetypes: the sensual siren, who is they're all part of our internal armies, like how I like to think of them. So there's the sensual siren, the warrior queen, and our inner little girl, and they each are there to work with their medicine to essentially strip away these three messages: that pleasure or our sensuality is dangerous, right? That play is unproductive, and that our emotionality is weak. And so with, pleasure being dangerous, or our sensuality being dangerous, it's pretty, at this point, pretty straightforward, right? Like we're post Me Too at this point. There is clarity and understanding that, the patriarchy for so long has really created an environment that makes it incredibly unsafe for women to just be who they are, to claim and connect to their natural eroticism and their sensuality. And so we shut that down a lot because we don't feel safe in that part of us. And so for some, this is the piece, this is the archetype, the sensual siren is who they shut down the most. For others, it might actually be about play. So if you grew up with a parent or a teacher or some sort of system that kept teaching you over and over again that, like, you got to be serious, to get things done, and like you work hard, then you play, right? Like you finish your homework, then you get to go out and play with your sisters or brothers or whatnot. And so we've really disconnected these two, and it's become harder and harder as adults to really understand that play is such a key spark, a key fuel in our creativity, in our ability to bring our gifts into the world, in addition to structure and, sort of more like formatted seriousness, so to speak. And then, of course, there's the piece around power. We grew up with power looking a particular way, very sort of top-down, very heady. We had a lot of male figures as CEOs, as politicians, as leaders. It was a lot of like, you got to cut out the emotionality, you got to cut out the intuition, you got to cut out the feeling and the expression that is so feminine in order to really be a good leader. And here we're saying, and also the other piece is that, you got to rule from your head, right? This has become very much a thing in recent history. And what we're saying is like, basically, fuck that. What actually needs to be happening is we need to bring in our body, we need to bring in our feminine gifts, our intuition. All of this needs to be part of our leadership, and our emotionality, our expression, our heart is such a key piece of this body-led leadership. And so if any of these messages resonated for you, if you're struggling with any of them, moving through an Embody class is a really beautiful way to start to explore that, less from your head and more through the experience of your senses, through the experience of your body. What does it actually feel like to take on the essence of your inner little girl, of silly, messy, raw, giggly energy? What does it feel like to actually slow down and really drop into your curves and feel the water and sort of the life force Shakti energy moving through you, the Eros moving through you? And then what does it feel like to actually alchemize, to be this incredible alchemizer, this warrior of the heart that leads, this queen that leads from this place that is very body-led, that's very womb space led, right? Like this area of our body. And so it's so key, because I do find a lot of people, you know, who come and start to work on the embodiment piece may have been doing this and breaking it down with their therapist or their counselor, or just through their own exploration of personal development. They may have been working on that for quite a while and have been aware, but it's a whole different experience to integrate it into your body, to pull it into your senses, to actually be walking around and feeling what it feels like to be in this new flavor of power, this new flavor of sensuality, and this new flavor of play. So that's really the impetus for the way in which the arc of class goes, and it's the reason why we believe it's such a key component in liberating yourself, your body, from this old paradigm, so you can step into a new paradigm of embodied leadership, of sensual nourishment, and being able to really be an example of aligned truth and your feminine essence, essentially.